949-363. We definitely want to hear from you guys. Any comments, questions, and what you're experiencing, thinking about, and considering about the real estate market, mortgage stuff, and all that good things like that. So, all right, Terry, let's get right into the numbers. Last week, inventory 441 total. Take a wild, crazy guess what it is this week. You're not going to believe it. Take a guess. Take a guess. Take a guess.
470.
493.
490. Oh, your 500 mark is in jeopardy.
It's in jeopardy. It's coming up. I'm going to lose my trip and dinner and all that fun stuff. So I need everybody right now to get your home under contract. Do whatever it takes. Keep that number down, right? 308 resales. We do have 185 new construction, which is a little above the average we normally see. So all these builders are like, hey, you know, I think they're just, we got a lot of communities going on, and I think more inventory is what's the norm right now. And so a little bit of slowdown in that department. And so they're just getting them out there. 308 resales, 44 average days on market. So that's staying very level with where we're at. We were between 40 and 44 averaging. And so that's not going up tremendously, which is good. I just got an offer last night on a place in Montgomery County, right down by you. It's been on the market about 7 days, about a week.
Okay.
Townhouse right there by Crown and Rio. And yeah, got a great cash offer. Give me the keys in 1 week. You know, no nothing but a regular inspection, and let me see the HOA condo docs, and we're done. So, and the other one I have over there near there, another one that's getting showings today, and so it's fine. It's all good. 481 is the average median price of these homes. 43 coming soon. So like I said, that's the thing that we know. That's probably not going to pick up until December or January. We should probably see that get to 70 or higher. But we really need it to get to 100 or more to give buyers a lot more selection and to get towards more balanced market. And we'll see if that happens or not. So pending under contracts, 290. The total was 584, but 290 with the total with new is 490. Resales is the 290. So I'm sorry, opposite. So sold in the last 30 days, 360. That is a low number. We got
very low number.
Yeah, because we were hovering around 1,400 at the height, or 1,000. Like
a huge number.
In the summer months, we see like 800 to 1,000, and now we're already down below 400 on past sales. So that whole train is caught up with each other as far as neck and neck. 20 average days in the market with those the days of the last 30 days sales. But that 44 that's going to come up, of course, with all the stuff that we're doing now. Lots for sale. Oh, the average price sale ratio 98.6. So
that's under 100.
Under 100. We've been under 100 a little bit for a while now, and that just shows that that's the impact of about half the sellers having to reduce their price to get an offer, or they're getting an offer that is less than asking price already. Those two elements is what's pushing that number down further each, pretty consistently now. Very little though, nothing crazy, but there's definitely a little bit within all that. And the bad part, Terry, the bad part of that number has the new construction in that. So I think if you take the new construction out, it's going to be a little different because the new construction is always 100% or higher, depending on the base price and then all the additional things you add and all that stuff like that. So that number may be a tad high, possibly, but I'll have to double check. I don't think that included just resale numbers, which I like because that's the new data. That's the right data. 74 lots for sale, 11 under contract, so that's not too bad. In fact, today I'm looking at an 8.5 acre lot with a new gentleman from the internet that got me off our RE/MAX site that we're going to go check out the lot, and it's $250,000 for 8.5 acre buildable lot. So all that good stuff. So not too bad. All right, let's get into it. Mortgage stuff. Should we even talk about mortgage stuff and numbers, money? So we just want to bypass that.
We probably should, but I think it's fair to say that what we're seeing is just a tremendous amount of volatility in the market. So it's very, very hard to gauge where pricing is.
How often do rates change every day?
We can go 2-3 days where rates are like hardly any bumps here or there.
Mm-hmm.
In a normal market.
Okay.
We're seeing 2 changes a day.
It's like the tide. It's like a tide change.
It's a tide change. Tide's coming out, tide's coming in. But we've been seeing, some days we'll have two changes, and basically it's so hard to talk to somebody and basically explain that, yeah, rates are not where we want them to be. We just want normalization. And what I mean by that is we just want it to be where you can get an easy quote with no points. And right now that the volatility, the mortgage investors are pricing it so that you almost have to charge a point just to get a rate.
Okay.
And that rate could be 7.25. So it's just it's a very, very tough time right now. And what we're seeing is, the demand is still there, but I have so many people that are just sitting on the sidelines now.
Okay. Doing much 2-1 buy downs, and I mean that's the big thing now. 2-1 buy downs or arm loans, or what are you seeing?
So seeing a big trend towards arms.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying, well, what about a 7-year arm?
Yep.
So we have a 7-year arm that we have at the bank that is competitive for today's rates, and we know and hope that you'll be out of that in within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
The feeling is that rates are not coming down.
No.
Anytime soon.
Not soon.
That we're going to probably level out. If the trajectory of raising rates by the Fed continues as it has been, so we're going to probably see a half to 3/4 in November, and we're probably going to see a half in December.
Okay.
So we're going to see another raise in the prime rate, which is now 6.25. So that's going to go up to 7.5%. So that will be that'll be and they're hoping that kind of levels out after that. Hopefully they're going to sit back, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to break the market. They're trying to break the employment string, the employment record that we have going. So one of the biggest things that we're going to see next week is it's going to be the third quarter, the gross domestic product, and we've talked about this.
Okay, yep.
The GDP determines whether we're in a recession or not. And as I talked about it many times back in June when it came out, we had 2 consecutive quarters where the GDP was actually in the negative, and that signals a recession. But then they came out and they said, well, we're not really in a recession. We're not in a recession. So this will be a very, very big number, and this comes out on Thursday.
Okay.
And this is going to drive kind of a lot of, I think people are going to look at it closer than they have before. But they're estimating that it's going to be an increase of 2.4%. Last time it came out, it was negative 0.6.
Okay.
Okay. So it's going to be about a 3% swing. If it's that big of a swing, we will definitely see some more interest rate hikes. The feel is that the 30-year fixed are going to hover around 7.5% to 8% for the next, probably the next 9-10 months. So I think once we hit a plateau, once it stops rising, you're going to see a tremendous amount of people sit on the sidelines.
We're going to talk about that number of where's that, in my mind, breaking point or some things and strategy with buyers, sellers, and a whole market and such like that. So we're going to talk about that. Hey, we want to hear from you, though. Hey, 301-694-9363. You can call in with your questions for Terry and I, or you can go ahead and text it in. Our producer here will go ahead and get that to us, and we'll answer that as well if you don't want to be on the air and have thousands of people listen to what you're having to say. But we do want to hear it. I know others do too. Because, Terry, the bottom line is most people are thinking the same thing out there. It's like the kids in the classroom. Who's going to ask the question first, right? You got 30 kids. The teacher's talking. It gets complex. They're talking about all kinds of subjects and things like that. And then all of a sudden, then nobody wants to raise their hand. Nobody wants to speak up. But yet everybody's sitting there thinking, does the person next to me, do they know he's talking? Do we know where it's going? Like, what about this? What about that? And nobody wants to ask it. But, dude, I don't know about you, Terry, but I was the kid. I asked all the questions. In fact, I fought back on all of them.
I can see that.
Can you see that?
I can see that.
I was like, I'm the one who fought the teacher and said, I think that's wrong. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to do my research. I know we don't have Google because we're in the 70s, but, hey, I'm going to go to the principal and ask him because I don't trust you right now. So here's what we want to do. We, Terry, we've always said it. If there's something we don't know that you're wondering about or you have a question about, we're going to look it up. We're going to find the answers for you and all that. But we love to hear your stories. I like to hear what people are experiencing, how they think and feel about it, and all that good stuff, and especially off our past programs. Terry, I find that a lot of people go in the past programs on WFMD, and they actually find out when they start listening. I get people all the time, as you know, they'll say, "Oh, I listen to some of your programs. I listen to when I'm driving or whatever." And that sparks a lot of interest and questions and concerns or thoughts and what should I do and all that. So everybody wants to know if we're all sitting on the sidelines for a minute, or not everybody, but most people, what are we going to do going forward? So, all right, life on the streets. I talked a little bit about a failed septic system. Woo! Hadn't had that fun stuff in a while.
Haven't had to,
yeah.
Hasn't been part of a contract in a long time.
Yeah, but this was, and the bad part of it is I had two conflicting ideas. The person who installed it insisted that the county signed off on it, and it's fine, and there's no big deal. And if it's not backing up in your house, and it's not a septic outbreak in your yard, then it's fine. And then I had the people that went out there and double checked the chambers. It was a BAT system, so it has the double chamber system and all that. And they're checking.
What is BAT system?
Oh, the best alternative system. The
best available.
The best available. Yes, the
best available
technology. And we don't see that as much because that law, they kind of went away with all the requirements and all this and chilled out on some of it. But down on the bay, some of that stuff still exists and all that, and that's where it needs to be.
And that's why I know what a BAT system is.
Because you got one. Because you had to put one in at $30,000, $40,000. That's why. I could have bought a bass boat for that and been out on the bay fishing rather than my septic system getting fixed, right?
Absolutely.
You're still bitter about it. I know you are.
I can't turn that page.
Don't worry, that house went up in value $300,000. You're fine.
After I sold it.
After you sold it. All right. Oh, no, that's even worse. Now there's the truth of what's wrong. All right, so here's the thing. We finally, two conflicting ideas. I, Your Honor, will show up to the scene. I ain't saying a word. I ain't challenging nobody. I ain't telling nobody they don't know what to do with their job because I don't want nobody mad at me. So the bottom line is this. Seller was cool. They're like, all right, we're just going to dig it up. So we had a company come in, and the inspection company, they came in, dug it up, and realized, yep, the pipe had broken off from the baffle because it sank down. And that was just, I don't know, you can call it an act of God or whatever, and they didn't put enough stone in, or this happened. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is this. Nothing bad happened. The good news is, for $900, guess what? They fixed the problem. We got a new PVC pipe in from the inlet to the outlet, and this is done, and that's done, and we're all finished, and, you know, everybody's all happy. The other agent's happy. The buyers are happy. The lending world, the buyer's lender who they're using, they're going to be happy, right?
Right.
They got a clean bill of health.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
How did that company know that there was something wrong? Because exactly what you said is most septic tests are visual on whether.
Oh, yeah. They looked in the double chambers and they realized the one was functioning the right way and the other one was way, way too clear of water that you could swim in that part of the septic tank, no pun intended, and not get dirty. And they were like, they shined it in. They're like, there's something wrong in between these because this would never look like this ever if it was correct.
So
a visual inspection did it.
Visual with a camera? Did they send
No. They just had to look through the chamber and look into the watercolor in the second chamber, and they knew right away that this isn't right. It's not even draining the fields correctly. It's not correct. Something's wrong.
It's interesting because most situations.
Oh yeah, you have to do dye tests and camera tests and all this other crazy stuff, or just start digging it up to see where the problem is. But they knew where the problem was immediately, and I was standing there, and they dug it up with a little baby backhoe, and they had it dug up within like 10 minutes and shoveled out, and boom, there's the problem. So there you go.
Wow.
So yeah, everybody was all happy, and there's my seller standing there on the edge of their septic system, not falling in. And they're sitting there going, oh, glad we didn't have a problem. Thanks for fixing this. Here's your money. So it's all good. But that kind of stuff happens, you know. And then I had another one, Terry, where we had this last week. I had a buyer that on a referral. They're buying a place out in Virginia. And it was a flip house, beautiful house, like $600,000 home. And everything looked good, and they loved it, and they've been looking for a while. We've been looking in Pennsylvania. We've been looking in West Virginia, all over the place. And long story short, after literally a year, we get an offer. They get an offer accepted, okay? And everything looked fine. I wasn't at the inspection. The other agency that I referred it out to, that it's way out there in West Virginia. It's an hour and a half away. They go to the inspection, whole 9 yards. The next thing I know, he calls me and says, "Oh man, there's some things on the list. There's actually, there's a couple concerns here and there, but nothing that can't be fixed and done. It's a flip home." And but the radon failed, and the buyers are pretty concerned. It was at 35, And as we
That's
know,
a huge number.
yeah, it is. It's pretty high. 4.0 or under is passing. 4.0 EPA deemed is unsafe and it's failing, and you could get lung cancer and die. And but by the way, there's people that lived in their basements with high elevated concentration of radon, and they never died. But you never know.
They never get sick.
They never get sick from it. They don't get cancer. No, none of it. But this came back at 35, rightly so. A little bit of concern. But what's the fix? What's the fix when a radon? By the way, 8 out of 10 radon. By the way, every home has radon in it. 8 out of 10 homes fail if you don't have a radon system in it. All the new homes and new construction, what would you say? Last 10 years, I'd say, pretty much. But the last 10 years, that's been standard to put a radon system in brand new builds. So it's already going to be in there. Mm-hmm. Whether it's an active system or passive, it doesn't matter. It's in there. Active is when you have a fan on it, which that's the proper, best, ultimate way to do it. Well, this place didn't have it. It's a 20-year-old house, whatever. It fails. And, of course, the fix is what? You put a remediation radon system in it.
And what you do, because I have radon in at my house
that
I live in, and we remediated it when we moved in 29 years ago, is basically what you do is you drill a hole into the foundation, the floor of the foundation, you put a fan in, and then you put a tube that goes outside that basically brings the brings the air from underneath the foundation and takes it outside, and it never gets in the house. Very, very tiny bit gets in the house.
Yeah, so there you go. So the bottom line is it's $1,600 on an average to put an active radon remediation system in. It could be a little bit more if you don't have a sump pump, if they have to drill a new hole in it and your foundation, all that kind of stuff like that. But condos, we don't do them with them. People ask us. We don't do it. Condos do not get radon remediation systems placed in them, okay? That's the one exception with Montgomery County. As we know, Montgomery County requires before you sell a house, you must have a radon test done and give those results to the buyer. But
really?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's law. You got to do it, and if you don't, you better do it. So you got to do it before settlement, and they have a choice if it fails to get it remediated or not, or you negotiate it out. But the onus is on the seller to give that information in Montgomery County, all that. And I'm getting ready to do one now, right now in Burtonsville. I'm getting ready to sell a house in 2 weeks, and I said to the sellers, you need to do a radon test. You don't have a radon system in here. And they're like, okay. So I'm like, here you go. You can call a company. You got to do it. You got to do this, and we got to get the results. So I actually have one of those little electronic ones. It was about $100, and I actually have one that I like to leave at people's homes, and it's pretty accurate. I've actually tested it versus the quote unquote the kits that you can send in from Home Depot or Lowe's and get that back. That's $40, or you can have a professional do it, and it's anywhere from $100 to $175. Or I can bring my little device, and I've done the professional one, and I've compared both, and they've been so close together. So my little device I got, I like it. It's pretty close. But I don't like use it as gospel, if you will, because we want the inspections and then people to do their own. But it's about $1,600 to do that. So that's that. All right, one of our listeners, I don't know who, but you're out there. You had texted in. Here's the question. Get ready, Terry. We're going to go ahead and do this question. You ready? We got like 8 or 9 minutes left. Here we go. If you knew you had to move next spring, would you sell now or would you wait? And would the price point of the home affect your decision? Wow, good question. If you knew you had to move next spring, okay. Next spring to us is weird though, Terry. We're weird people. Most people think next spring is when the flowers are blooming. I think of spring January 2nd. Because that's the official start of the real estate spring market, and when buyers are getting more in the game and getting ready to want to do stuff and all that, which is, by the way, less than 2 months away. We're about 2.5 months away. All right, so next spring, I get it. Next spring, we're talking probably March, April, maybe, or something like that. Would you sell now or would you wait? Okay, I think that's a great question. Number one, yes, your price point is definitely a big factor in what's going on in the market, okay? All price point factors we have to look at, I do this every month. I break down every $100,000 increments. I look at every single price point, 100 to 200, 200 to 3, 3 to 4, and all the way up. Like we've said, $700,000 is an average. 700 and above cracks first. In an economy that's going down, a real estate market that's changing, all that stuff like that. Typically, the higher you are, the faster you fall, if you will, okay? So if it depends on your price point first and foremost as far as how much inventory is there, what's around you, and what's selling, what's still selling in that price point, what's not. Okay, no matter what. That would be my first thought as far as that. But I'm just going to, and if you're in a low price point, which we would call a rent payment, mortgage, or lower. Well, now the average rent payment, if we're at $2,200 a month, and now, Terry, with the higher interest rates, if we back into that and find what's that selling floor, if you call it, what does that look like? Well, that used to be $300,000 and under, right? About $350 and under was where I would say is an average mortgage amount that is a rent payment, if you will. So do you want to pay rent, or do you want to own a house for $300,000 and it's the same exact thing, if you will? Well, now that interest rates aren't 3 or 4%, but they're at 7 and 7.5%, what would you guess would be that price of a house that's equal now to a rent payment?
Probably going to be a lot less than the 300,000.
Yeah.
Probably in the 250 range.
Yeah, 225, 250.
225, and that's almost like a unicorn trying to find a house that's, in today's market, it's
condo.
225 or 250. So, yeah, and I've said it 100 times on the show, what we're seeing is just so crazy and not normal. And so I think the question is a lot of people are asking me where are rates going to be next spring.
Yeah, right.
People are saying, should I buy now or should I wait? And I mean, usually I'm really on top of this, and usually I have a very strong opinion.
We're getting ready to flip a coin now, aren't we?
But we're in the coin flip.
We crossed over to the coin flip side.
But I think the person that asked this question is wondering, is there a house? And if I'm trying to decide whether to sell today or next spring, my first question is, can I get more next spring, or am I going to get less
right
next spring?
Well, if
is
you're
there going to be depreciation, or
depends.
Yeah.
Well, no one has a crystal ball, but here's the thing, it's all about inventory. And if we see inventory stay where we're at or only go up a little bit more, and buyer demand is matching that, because the buyer demand dictates inventory and which way we go. So as inventory goes up or down, that is the litmus test for buyer demand, ultimately, right? So as we pay attention to that month over month over month, that right there is going to be the biggest indicator as far as that. Now, if this person has a home that's under, I'm going to say probably $350,000 or $400,000, if they do a property under that, you have a very good chance that it's going to go up in value or stay at value where we're at now. Mm-hmm. You got a pretty good chance it's probably going to be, worst case scenario, leveled off or go up a couple percent or so maybe. If you're in the $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 and above range, okay, now we may need to talk about, you might want to sell now or get ready to. But here's the thing. The next question I have for this person is, where are you going? Are you going to downsize, upsize? You going out of the area? You going to rent? Like, what is your strategy if you have to sell in the springtime? That would be something I would need to know, because that's going to help dictate a piece of the puzzle that's really important. So here's what I say to that listener. My information is at the end. Give me a call. I'd love to meet with you. And I'll give you my other thoughts on based on what I know exactly you have and what your goals are. And I'll be able to tailor a better answer to that, probably more than what's broad across the board that we just did. But I do hope that helps you out, and I appreciate your question. We love this. This is awesome, getting this kind of stuff from all of you.
Yeah, because let's talk about today versus a year ago. September last year and September this year.
Okay.
The National Association of Realtors came out and they said that sales are down 24%.
Yes,
from last
which
year.
is scary.
The other number that popped up was that first-time home buyers, 3 in 10 homes that are being sold are first-time home buyers. So those numbers have changed a little bit, and those numbers are up from last year as well. So I always think that, in the spring there is always demand in the spring.
Oh yeah, there's going to be more demand. So you're going to be fine.
There'll be more demand. So if you hold off till next spring, I think you're going to be okay.
That's a great point. The demand is naturally going to be higher. The only thing that could crush buyer demand would be if interest rates go up, and it, like, let's say we get to like 8.5% or 9% by Feb. Terry just had a heart attack over there. Does anybody want to call 911? He just had a heart attack at the end of the program. Sorry. Let's not do that. You've had that. Let's not go there.
I've been there.
Okay, Mr. Powell, don't raise rates. Terry needs to stay with me every week here, okay? And his wife needs him and his kids and all the people out there that need money. But here's the thing, Terry, seriously, Terry, last thing on the end of our program coming up. If in fact, if interest rates, I believe, cross over 8, and I'm going to have to talk about this next week. If interest rates by the spring market get to 8 or 8.5, I do believe we will see a massive slowdown of buyer demand only because of affordability. Or the demand will just be with the lower homes. It's going to be the 300,000 under. If you own one of those puppies, sell them all because those are going to be the hottest things on the block, you know. So last thing, we got one more minute. Do a pre-home inspection. This is something I have my sellers a little bit now more than ever doing, and they're agreeing to it. We're doing pre-home inspections to make sure that these buyers that are acting a little crazy about them do not eat you alive trying to negotiate it out, okay? And so you can fix things, get them done and all that. I'm getting ready to list a home today in Myersville and Stottlemyre Road. They did everything I asked them to do. This house is perfect, $425,000. It's going to be great. So we're getting ready to do that today and get it going for this week and all that stuff. So here it is next week. Let me get your appetite going, Terry. Next week, I'm going to talk about what are the 3 most absolute crucial seller strategies that sellers absolutely better do. And if they don't, they are going to find themselves feeling a lot of hurt and pain. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to your Frank Real Estate Update. We'll see you next week now. Have a good weekend.